Hey guys, it's Andre from High Performance Academy. Welcome along to today's webinar. Now, first of all, I'm going to start by apologising for the fact that we've been out of the webinar game for a little while. We've had a fair bit on our plate, including a couple of weeks over in Europe for Goodwood Festival of Speed. We've also been working really hard to try and get one of our other projects, our racecraft wheel alignment course, up and running. So I'm going to cover off a little bit about that, but we are back up and running, and as of now, we should be back to our regularly scheduled weekly webinars. Now, today we are going to be covering a reflashing topic. We're going to be looking at how we can use the histogram functionality in the HP Tuner software in order to speed up our tuning process. This is a common question I get asked, particularly with those who are relatively new to reflashing. In most instances, when it comes to reflashing, we can't make our tuning changes live, and I know that puts off a lot of people that have come from the aftermarket standalone tuning world. Seems like it's going to be a really slow process, but we'll see that that's not exactly the case. So going back to our Goodwood Festival of Speed trip, this is the first time we've actually attended Goodwood. It's a fairly long haul to get to England from New Zealand with two 12-hour flights, but we were pretty impressed with the quality of that event in particular. Coming from New Zealand, it's really hard to get your head around the scale of it. Over 4 days, I think they have between about 100 and 150,000 people through the gates each day. So yeah, there's anything like it in the Southern Hemisphere that at least we've seen. And on top of that, there's the quality of the cars attending. I lost count, but I think we might have had somewhere in the region of about 30 older Formula One cars attending. So you just, again, don't get to see that on this side of the world. Plus, from our perspective, the key part was it gave us the opportunity to get up close and personal and talk to some really, really smart people. Again, content that we just can't create from over here, and we're really excited to start sharing some of that content. And in fact, we have just dropped one of our new videos today. I'm going to get into that really shortly. Just a couple of updates. So as I've mentioned, we did put our webinars on hold for a week there, just getting our racecraft course finalized. There's still a few finishing touches to go into that. And for those who maybe weren't joining us back when I was talking about racecraft is a new project that we are venturing into. It's going to be very, very similar to High Performance Academy. However, we are covering race car development, so suspension, etc., data logging, and race driver development as well. So really it's going to be along the same lines as HPA in terms of our online video-based training courses with a forum and webinars for support. So for all of our existing High Performance Academy VIP members, they're also going to get VIP membership by default into Racecraft, so you're going to get free access to all of those courses that we bring out. We're really excited about this project, and we will be talking more about it once we've got that course actually finished. More relevant to those of you following us for our tuning side of things though, I also was talking a while back about our practical diesel tuning course. So if we just jump across to my laptop screen for a moment, this development vehicle that we recently purchased, this is just back before Christmas, which is a 2018 Chevy Silverado running the 6.6 litre Duramax V8 diesel turbo engine. So we have already got out our diesel tuning fundamentals course. So if you're interested in learning a little bit about that, you'll find that at the bottom of our courses page on our website, hpacademy.com/courses. So as its name implies, that is a fundamentals based course that will teach you how the diesel engine works, but we obviously wanted to bring you some practical knowledge on how to apply tuning changes on a late model common rail diesel engine. So that's why I've got our Silverado. We've actually partnered up with Nick from Calibrated Performance in the US. He is probably better known from DuramaxTuner.com, and he's actually joining us next week to button up that course. He'll be filming that live here in our studio, and we're really excited to partner with Nick. He's got a really good name in the industry and a huge amount of experience in tuning all manner of diesel engines, including of course Duramax, but also Ford and Dodge as well. So we're going to be adding some worked examples to that course as quickly as Nick is able to produce them. He's going to be doing that from his home base back over in the US, but we thought for continuity, getting him out here and filming it in our usual studio was going to give us a better finished product. So that course hopefully won't be too far away once we've actually got the filming complete there. Now, I did mention that we have just released one of our videos from Goodwood. So I'll head across to my laptop screen again, and again, just not really the opportunity to get up close and personal with too many Formula One cars here in New Zealand. There were a huge number of them over there, and this is a 2000 model McLaren MP415 powered by a Mercedes 3-litre V10 naturally aspirated engine back in these days. And we got a chance to talk to Tim White about all of the inner workings of this particular engine, some of the details that you really struggle to get firsthand elsewhere. And Tim was pretty down to earth and also really knowledgeable on this particular car. Turns out he actually worked as David Coulthard's engine engineer for a period of about 10 years, including the 2000 season when this car was running. In fact, this particular car also won the Monaco Grand Prix in 2000. So topics that we talk about there include the pneumatic valve springs, essential in a V10 that's spinning to 18,400 RPM, making 900 horsepower without the benefit of any turbochargers. We also talk about the hydraulic system that is used on these engines. Interestingly, they use hydraulic control for the drive-by-wire throttle body instead of electric motors, I should say, as we normally see today. Also a hydraulically controlled clutch and hydraulically shifted 7-speed sequential transmission. A huge amount of information in there, some really interesting insight that you really will struggle to get elsewhere. So head across to our YouTube channel, check that video out, make sure that you watch it, give it a thumbs up, and also if you haven't already subscribed to our YouTube channel, make sure you do so. That'll make sure that you stay up to date with all of our latest videos as they come out. Giving you a little bit more content that we ended up with from our trip to Goodwood as well. Once we'd finished with Goodwood itself, we toured around the UK for the better part of a week and visited a bunch of different shops. There were some really interesting shop visits there. On our last day, we managed to head to Geoff Page Racing, and it's an interesting little shop. Geoff's pretty well known in the UK for his restoration on old Group B rally cars as well as old F1 cars, and he's got a really interesting history, including the fact that he actually was pretty instrumental in the development of the Ford RS200 Group B rally car. Also worked for Brian Hart, who was the designer of an F1 engines back in the earlier era of Formula One. And one thing that really popped out and got our attention, if we jump across to my laptop screen, this was a post I put up on our Instagram earlier in this week, and this was a car that they were actually trying to get ready for the Silverstone Grand Prix, and it's a car with a fair bit of history because this is the car that Aryton Sennas drove in his debut season in Formula One. So it's back in the mid 80s or early 80s Formula One era, the first Formula One era, and these engines, as anyone who's probably followed Formula One turbo car development has probably heard, some of the numbers that they were supposedly making in qualifying trim were pretty insane, somewhere in the region of up to 1500 horsepower from a 1.5 litre engine. Some teams used a 6-cylinder. In this case, the Hart 415T engine is a 4-cylinder engine. But one of the problems, and I'm definitely no stranger to this with high boost turbocharged engines, is keeping the cylinder head sealed to the engine block. You're creating a huge amount of cylinder pressure. Of course, that's where we get our power from, and that cylinder pressure is physically trying to lift the cylinder head or force the cylinder head off the engine block. And when that happens, when we get the cylinder head and block flexing apart, it doesn't take much before the combustion pressure can escape into the coolant jacket, and basically when that happens, it's not going to be a good end to your day. So Hart had a relatively unique take on this. Definitely he's not the inventor of this technique. Offenhauser were using this as well many years before, but it is what's referred to as a monoblock engine. So as we can see here, there is no head interface which we'd normally see between the cylinder head and the block. It is, as its name implies, cast in one piece. So with the block and head integrally cast, there is obviously no intersection there for any potential for a head gasket failure. This, of course, brings its own set of issues. In particular, machining things like the valve seats becomes a little bit more tricky, as does assembling the engine. Normally when we assemble the engine, we drop the piston and conrod assembly in through the top of the bores. Obviously everything has to be assembled from the underside, but yeah, pretty interesting engine. While the BMW 2002 Ti based engine was kind of widely regarded as the most powerful engine in F1 in the turbo era, it's actually suggested that the Hart engine was the most advanced and most reliable engine during that era, and also one of the most powerful. So there you go, a little bit of insight from Geoff Page Racing. It was great to get some insight into that particular engine. I've been a huge fan of the original F1 turbo era, and we've seen a lot of the development from there sort of trickle its way down over the decades to the sort of turbo advances we saw in the street car market as well. Now, another thing that's changed since we had our last webinar, again on my laptop screen, we've got a photo of our new dyno setup, which you've probably been watching while we've been waiting for this webinar to get started. And this was something we had been planning for a fair while our four-wheel drive mainline rolling road has been great to us. This year in particular, we do have a few projects where we know that we were going to be pushing the boundaries of traction on a rolling road four-wheel drive dyno. So we took the leap and worked with Mainline to get hold of one of their brand new four-wheel drive ProHub units. So obviously at the moment you can see there's only 2 hub units on our Toyota 86 development car. This is so new that currently Mainline have been working to develop the four-wheel drive controller. So I've got Todd from Mainline popping over in about a week or so's time to connect up the other controller, and that's going to turn it into a four-wheel drive dyno, which will get us back up and running on our Subaru STi as well for some of our upcoming course material. So the advantages with the hub dyno, obviously we've got no tyre contact patch there, so this provides the potential for no traction problems. We've got no wheel spin issues on this dyno, and it also means that because we don't have that tyre contact patch, we should be able to get more consistent results run to run and session to session. As the tyres heat up and the pressure in the tyres change, it is quite possible to see a variation in the power that a rolling road dyno will record. That's no sort of disrespect to the dyno itself. It's doing exactly what it should, but of course the amount of power that is absorbed, I guess, through the tyre contact patch does vary depending on the condition of the tyres, the pressure, etc. So this will get rid of that inconsistency, and again, because we've got no traction issues, I should say, we're going to be in a much better place when it comes to testing much higher powered engines. And in terms of that, this particular unit, while it is on paper suggested to be rated to 2,000 horsepower two-wheel drive, which in fairness should be ample for us, this has actually been tested to in excess of 2,500 horsepower. And depending on the exact torque output of the engine, gearing, etc., Todd from Mainline has suggested that we could possibly get as much as 2,800 horsepower through it. Of course, we're pretty skeptical of that, so we'd love to have something that we could strap down on the dyno, bolt down onto the dyno, and actually put that power claim to the test, but not too sure if that's likely to happen anytime in the near future. In terms of four-wheel drive power handling capability, the front hub units are slightly smaller and they're retarded than the rears, but safe to say we'll be capable of going over 3,000 horsepower if we ever had a 3,000 horsepower four-wheel drive car that we could put to the test. So as we get a little bit further through our development with this car, with this dyno, we are looking forward to bringing you a little bit more content on it. Just get back to my notes here. I also wanted to introduce a new project that we have got in the HPA family, and you probably also saw this actually sitting out behind the dyno while you're waiting for this webinar to start. But again, we head over to my laptop screen, and this is actually currently my daily driver. It's a 1979 Toyota FJ40 Land Cruiser. Probably not exactly what you'd be expecting from the High Performance Academy crew. However, this is a truck that I've always had a bit of a soft spot for. Living here in Queenstown, we've got snow, we've got mountains, and we've got a lot of four-wheel drive trails. So a four-wheel drive car is almost an essential to get around, and I've always liked the look and style of the old original FJ40 Land Cruisers. So it's been a little bit difficult to find one that's in really good condition. This one has actually been partially restored, still a bit of work to do, but it was a really good starting point. So this one comes equipped with the original 4.2 litre straight 6 Toyota 2F engine, and we've got this little thing over here which is I believe they call them a carburetor. definitely a little bit outside of my normal kind of area of experience, and for that reason we're going to probably be getting rid of that pretty shortly. So the idea with this project is what we're going to do is perform sort of a resto mod on it. We want to keep the outside looking relatively original, but we're going to be repowering it with something a little bit more modern, basically going to make the truck drive a little bit more like a modern vehicle. So we're going to try and keep the theme. There's so many of these rolling around now with small block Chevs or LS1, LS2 conversions. I don't really want to do that. I'm wanting to keep it in the Toyota family, so what we're actually going to do is swap in a Toyota 1UZFE, the variable valve timing model. Not really looking for massive power, so with probably somewhere around about 250 to 300 horsepower stock, that's going to be plenty of power and torque for this. Also going to be swapping in a 5-speed gearbox so that it's not screaming at high RPM out on the open road at the normal speed limit. Also, if we just go back as well, the only changes I've actually made to this at the moment are to fit a different set of wheels and tyres. So we've got a set of 17 by 8.5 1552 turbo blocks on the car with a set of 285 70 17 what are they, BF Goodrich, I think? Yeah, I'm struggling to remember now, tyres on it, so that's just to sort of give it the right look. But the other thing we're going to be doing, because anyone who has driven one of these older trucks will probably know that they don't drive that nicely with the leaf sprung front and rear, so I'm going to be doing a coilover conversion on all 4 corners, basically just modernising that a little bit. So while obviously not our normal performance car, we know that these trucks still have a huge following, so we are going to be creating some content around the modifications we perform. And basically when it comes to automotive modifications, it doesn't always have to be racetrack inspired. The same techniques that we use for wiring up our other race cars are going to be applied to our FJ40, and hopefully it'll be a project that a lot of you will be able to follow along with and hopefully enjoy and get some valuable insight out of. Lastly, today we have just launched our latest giveaway, which is for the ECU Master ADU7 dash display. So if you are in the market for an aftermarket dash display, then this is the perfect chance to get your name into the draw. I'll get the team to throw a link in that you can follow to enter. If you follow that link, you'll also find that there are a few other little tasks that you can complete that will give you more entries into the draw. So this is a 7-inch full color display. It's got multiple configured pages out of the box, plus you can modify those to suit. Basically you can display whatever parameters are important to you. It's got analog and digital inputs that you can wire into the back of the dash. Alternatively though, and this is probably how most people are going to be using one of these dashes, it does include 2 CAN buses, and this allows you to then communicate between the dash and probably most aftermarket ECUs using that CAN bus. The ability to run 2 CAN buses also allows you to communicate with multiple devices. So this becomes pre-configured with CAN bus templates for the majority of popular ECUs, but if there's something there that isn't supported, the team at ECU Master are also pretty happy to oblige and modify a template or make up a template to suit. The other thing that's interesting is it has a 3-axis built-in G sensor in the dash. Not particularly unusual there, but what is a little bit more unusual is it also has a built-in gyroscope. So for those who want to get a little bit more technical about analysing the performance of their car on a racetrack, there's going to be a huge amount of data created by that. And in terms of that data as well, it does give you the ability to log channels at up to 500 Hertz straight to a USB flash drive. So this makes it really easy to pull out a flash drive and swap it over in a pit stop, making it easy to get the car back out on the track without needing it to sit there for too long while you're actually downloading data. Lastly, I'll just mention here, and this isn't something that is unique to the ECU Master ADU dash, but I'll just mention because some of you may not be aware. With these dashes, if you want to add either a lap timing beacon or a GPS antenna, you can do track mapping, and then you can also do track lap timing. Sorry, I'm just getting my words out right. You can do lap timing, which is great. Now, a feature that this dash does include is what's called predictive lap timing. So basically what it'll do is it'll look at the information from the car and from the sensors and from the GPS unit, and it will update whether you're ahead or behind compared to your best lap time. So this is a great way, particularly when you're out in a qualifying session, to see if you're ahead, whether it's worth pushing hard and maybe using up your brand new set of tyres, or whether you're already behind your previous best and you might as well throw the lap away, reset and get ready to go again. So a really powerful feature. It's one that we personally use when we're out on the racetrack with our own cars. A really powerful way of knowing exactly where you are, and you can also use that feature to try different lines on a particular area of the track and see if it's giving you an improvement in real time, rather than having to come back to the pits, download the data and then have a look to see what worked and what didn't. Alright guys, thanks for watching our little pre-show there. Give me a few moments and we'll get started with our webinar.